Construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions Podcast, where we're burning the house down twice a week, Monday and Thursday. You can find us right here, talking about being a champion, figuring out how to be the best version of yourself, not just for your company, but for yourself, for your family, for your employees, for all of those people around you. And today we have an amazing guest. Alicia, it is great to have you here.
Likewise, super excited to be here and explore how we can add value.
Awesome. I'm excited about it as well. But before we dive in there, why don't you tell all the champions out there a little bit about yourself?
Yep, definitely. So my name is Alisha. I'm originally from India and I'm originally from finance. Both are a little different for the construction industry, but still I find myself interacting with people from the construction industry the most in my current job. So let's take a step back and just give you a super quick walkthrough of how I got here. So I was born and brought up in India. I've kind of worked in banks and this company called Moody's, which is a credit rating firm, while I was there. And eventually I found myself in this company doing reporting for a private equity client, where we were basically tracking valuations for their projects wherever they had invested, and they did a bunch of construction investments as well in there. But while I was tracking those, I kind of had this almost like a crisis moment where I realized that I'm sitting there playing God, judging how these big projects are doing on a month-on-month basis without ever having any idea of what it takes on the ground level to actually generate those revenues that I'm reporting there to. You know, we get these draw packages and then we just model them out without and pass judgment basically on this project is going to fail, so we should pull our investment, versus this one's going to succeed and it should we should double down, etc., without really having too much exposure to on the ground really what's going on. So I decided that, and this was not just within the construction space, we covered many projects and it was the same throughout. I decided that I wanted a bit more understanding of what really goes on in a business before I can come back and make these value calls. So I moved to London. I joined this amazing startup called LiveFlow, where what we do is we help automate financial reporting for small and medium-sized businesses. And I think I really found my niche here because it's this beautiful intersection of finance and accounting knowledge, as well as actual business value add, which is something I'm really passionate about. So this intersection of the two, and every day coming to work and really understanding how I can use my skills in finance to help someone in a completely different vertical add value in their life is has been super rewarding for me.
Awesome. I love that. And I'm excited to have our conversation because it's always interesting when we get different perspectives on the construction industry. And I'm going to dive right in there and ask the $1,000,000 question. And that is, what makes a construction champion? Hey, construction champions. It's your host, Ron Nussbaum here. And I want to talk to you about how you can automate all of your marketing. We've had so many people on here talk about getting the systems in place. Well, we have partnered with Build 12 and Construction Champions podcast. Les O'Hara, the founder, what really excites me is his 30 years in the industry. And now he's built a system to be able to nurture your leads and continue to utilize that. I personally use the system myself. Build 12 is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of value in there, and it's a way to start getting away from Angie's List and all of that kind of stuff and start actually creating your own leads every day and have a system for them. So go on our website, check out the show notes, go check out Build 12 and what it can do for the front end of your business today. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend going and meeting with Les and his son, Devin, and talking to him about what they built for their own business, so the rest of the industry can take benefit from that. Here on Construction Champions, we're all about helping each other out. And what is better than contractors helping contractors? I say nothing. So let's go take this to the next level. Go check out Build 12. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Les or his son, Devin. We're here to help. We want to continue to grow the industry.
Yeah, so in my experience, I think the construction clients that I work with, the ones that I would classify as champions, would be the ones who are the most disciplined and the ones who have the most balance, I want to say, between flexibility as well as rigidity that comes with that discipline. Now, what I mean by this is that when you're dealing in construction finance specifically, you often are handling a lot of money, a lot of cash that comes in and out. And if you're not disciplined, it can very, very easily get away from you. So you get your receivables early, and then maybe you're paying your vendors 30 days after that. And it's kind of easy to get those mixed ups. If you have multiple projects going on, you can kind of take money from here and pay it there. But the problem when you're doing these kind of trade-offs is you're getting the job done at that point of time, but unless you have everything mapped out properly, you're very often going to find yourself in situations where somebody who needs to be paid hasn't been paid, and if they don't get paid, they're not going to show up to work the next day. So, you will have these real world impacts that could have very easily been avoided by just having a little bit more discipline and a little bit more tracking in how you view your finances. But that being said, you don't have to be super rigid about it at the cost of holding something up. So this is where the flexibility comes in, where you know what you want to achieve, but just being a little bit flexible about how you achieve that outcome while keeping this trade-off in mind is something that really sets apart a successful construction champion from maybe your average construction worker.
Awesome. I love that. And it's not too often that we hear discipline and flexibility in the same sentence, but I absolutely understand what you mean there. And in construction, where we're dealing with a lot of projects, having discipline or just having a system or a way to track anything is a must. And it's way overlooked because we just figure we're just, like you said, we're figure this out, and the next thing you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and like you said, somebody doesn't show up to the job, and you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are a little more old school in this industry as compared to others. So a lot of decisions are made just like with gut feeling as well as with maybe experience. And I'm sure those decisions are right, but it can be made so much better if you just do the same things while after looking at your data. Just looking at your numbers spread out once, going like, oh, this is when money's coming in, this is when it's going out. And would I still make the same decision I made right now, knowing what I know now? That's something that I think can help here.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because we're a industry that's typically we're behind the learning curve when it comes to technology. Like we know how to build shit, but like the other aspect of it becomes we're just not there. We're continuing to get there. We're continuing to learn. There's a huge drive into it right now, but it's like you were saying, like you can't just make these decisions off of a gut feeling. Or let me take that back. You might have used to be able to, but in today's world, with the margins what they are, the cost of errors what they are, you just can't use your gut. You have to have something that can calculate this and something that can tell you why to make that decision.
Exactly. I love that term, the cost of errors being what they are. That's absolutely something that, more people should keep in mind as they go about thinking about how reporting and financials play into the overall construction process. Because it's not really the first thing you think of. When I say construction, you're not thinking of balance sheets and cash flow models at that point, but it's important. It's overlooked, but it's important for sure.
Yeah, as I say it on here all the time, is that the sooner we realize that we're in business and we just do construction, the sooner we can really start to become the construction champions. Because saying that, oh, we're just a construction business, so we don't have to worry about that, like, that doesn't work. Like, we're here to create thriving entities that can provide for ourselves, our employees, our families, everybody around us, our community. Most of us, I mean, we work where we live. We're the people that build or renovate or keep the pride in our neighborhoods, but we're a business. Like, we're not we just do construction, but at the core, we're a business. So we have to think about the financials. We have to think about the book. This is stuff that we, as business owners in any other business, would be fundamentals. But in construction, for some reason, like you said, it's construction. It's a construction business. I don't like, that's not top of mind. But we're building businesses. We have to look at this as, what are those checkbox items? If you were just building a corporate business, or you were just building a small home business, like, it's a business. Don't look at it as construction. Just look at it as a business and do what you should do for any business. And it will work in construction. Trust me, it will.
Absolutely, absolutely, it will. Yeah, and that's actually a great way of saying it. It is a business like any other, and it's subject to the same pitfalls and well, chances for things to go right if everything's in place. So yeah, that's well said. I think another thing that we notice is with construction firms specifically is that they're kind of on top of maybe the bottom line, like the profit that's coming out of the cash, the final cash figure that's coming out of each project. But the way they get to these numbers is again super manual, because they haven't taken too much time to think about how to make this process more efficient or faster ever. Again, just because it's a function that's not really given the kind of space that it needs to. So yeah, we see people struggling with the same challenges that any business struggles with, like, I want to be on top of this. Am I on track with my budget, or how far away am I? What's remaining, what's not? But just because there's been so little attention paid to this space, the solutions to this end up being so much more manual than they should be. You see, even if you hire analysts to do these tasks for you, they'll take hours and days to give you something that in other industries you get like in seconds. So there's absolutely some space for a lot more automation here.
Yeah, and I mean, you're in this world. How can we, as a construction industry, start automating this, start moving this process forward so it's not as manual?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm obviously biased here because I work in LiveFlow, and that's part of the solution that we offer, is that we help businesses automate their financials. And but I think, like, in terms of general advice, it would just be to actually take some time and think about what the ideal end outcome should be for you. Like, if you think that I want to be able to see how much cash is coming in at any given point of time versus what I thought would come in, like my budget versus what actually came in, and I need this at my fingertips, on the go, on my phone. I don't want to sit looking at a laptop. So just take the time to define what it is that you want, and be demanding here. Be clear that I want instant answers. We live in 2024. We have data at our fingertips, and you absolutely should have this here. So think about what's important for your business, for your projects, define it, and then go out and find people who can deliver that for you. So yeah, in at LiveFlow, like, one of the things that we do is we work with clients to build custom models for them, so that if and this is something that does kind of come up in the construction space a bit more as well, just because of how, I want to say, unique the reporting needs are versus other industries. So we try to build templates and try to generalize this as much as we can, so that what's built for one can be scaled for many. But yeah, that's not the only way. Like, as long as you take the time and demand excellence out of your financials, you can find solutions out there.
I love that. I love the understanding of what you want, Because I think that's what ends up happening a lot of times, especially when we start talking about finances and accounting, and people don't know what they want. And then if you don't know what you want, you can't be clear with it. And then we end up with a bunch of garbage, because if you can't tell somebody what you want, you're not going to get what you need. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So figuring that out is, it's just as critical as the job. Like, what do you need to get the job done? Well, like, what do you need from the numbers? What do you need to financially understand? Like, you have to do some education here and figure out what those things are. And I'm sure you guys help guys with understanding what are the numbers, what are the stuff you should know.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't need to be an expert in finance or accounting to be able to articulate what you need for your business to go ahead. If you have a sense of what problems you're currently facing, if you find that you haven't been paying people on time, although you do have projects, then there may be some issue that needs to be diagnosed in how you're spending, etc. So you don't need to be well versed in the accounting statements to be able to articulate your problems to someone who can help find a solution.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, because you just got to know what you want, and you got to know. I mean, and typically we can figure out what we need to know by what are we lacking or what are we hearing. Like you said, if guys aren't getting paid, you're probably hearing about that. If if orders aren't showing up, if money's not moving how it's supposed to, you're probably hearing about it. So in the back of your mind, you know what you need to know. You just have to, like she said, be very demanding with getting that information in front of you so you have it, because it is. I mean, it's 2024. There's software out here that can get you pretty much anything you want to know, as long as you're willing to put in the right data.
Exactly. And I think overall, I wonder if that's what the barrier is. I'm not really sure why more people don't do it. It just might be that the industry is changing and it's just moving too slowly for one person to see it at one point of time. But I wonder why more people don't go in for automation and solutions in this space. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think people are scared. Some people are jaded. We had a big push in the very beginning when technology moved into construction. Silicon Valley, they pushed a lot of software out there that wasn't right for the industry, and I think people got jaded. But I think what it comes down to is just a thought process. Is this is how we've always done it, and it's gotten us by, so why mess with it? Like, I'm in software, and I meet guys all the time that are running 5, 6, 7. I met a drywaller 2 weeks ago. It's doing a $9 million a year in drywall, doesn't even have email on his phone.
Yeah.
Like, when you start looking at it from that perspective, it becomes unbelievable. But those companies are out there, but at the same time, those companies have to start to bring in processes. They have to start bringing in technology. Otherwise, there's going to start going the opposite direction, because the industry is starting to demand it. Clients are starting to demand it. People want to know what's happening. They don't want to know what does some spreadsheet look like or what's your gut feeling. They want the actual numbers. They want the hard statistics, and we're moving in that direction. But we're really an industry of, which here's what I'm going to make a statement that absolutely blow everybody's mind, is because we're really an industry of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But we make our living off of fixing stuff that most of the time is not broken, that somebody just wants made better, or they want it to be prettier. But we don't take the same thing when we're talking business. And like I talked at the beginning, I think a lot of people just look at it as, this is construction. And they're okay with that. They're okay with it just being whatever it is because this is just construction and it's how it is. It's not meant to be easy. It shouldn't be automated. We shouldn't, like, we should have to hand count the pennies and the dollars and figure out exactly what that looks like when that's not the truth. The biggest guys out there, the fastest growing companies are the companies that are adapting technology, that are looking at the numbers, that understand what's happening in their businesses, and they're making the investment in the processes right now.
Yeah. And that is, at least even in the startup space, that's the only way to stay alive. You have to constantly seek ways to make yourself more efficient. Otherwise, you will go out of business super fast. And I know construction is much more long term in that sense, and that it does have a sense of security attached to it when you have a super long project, so you know you're set for X amount of time. But that's no reason to not invest in yourself and make yourself better. Like if the guy who's doing drywall is making 9 million a year, I'm sure there's a way that he could be making 18 million a year if he can just scale himself a bit more. Or there's no limit here. So yeah, it really depends. Of course, if it works for some people, then that's great. But yeah, there is absolutely some scope for improvement overall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing he could probably do a little bit more than double. Just because.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I mean,
amazing what you can do and what the numbers can add up. And if you're willing to go out there and put the technologies in place, put the systems in place, not just what you can do, but the freedom you can create, the life you can create for yourself, your employees, your family, for everybody around you. Because like you said, there is a lot of security in it. There's a lot of security in construction, but we all always just one project away from what could be the end. If we're not thinking forward, if we're not continuing to grow, you don't know when's that next project not going to come because you didn't make the investments now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even on investor side, like now there's a much bigger push for reporting in terms of, even if you wanted to raise for your next project, if you wanted to partner up with someone, that they would always ask for certain metrics. And even while you are co-investing with them, especially if you're taking loans, and then you have to submit draw requests, there'll be some analyst in India who'll go and say, this isn't working out. But I mean, having data there makes all the difference between an investor having confidence in you and then partnering up with you again and again, versus if you just don't communicate enough and just show up at the end of the project like, hey, here's your return or whatever. So yeah, I think on all fronts, I feel like there's so much emphasis on wanting more data, and I'm glad to see that there are people who are moving towards that already.
Awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation today. I have really enjoyed it. So for all the construction champions listening, if they wanted to connect with you, learn more about what you do, where's the best places for them to do that?
Yep, absolutely. So you can check out LiveFlow and what we do and how exactly we automate your financials at www.liveflow.io. This will also be linked in the description. And separately, if you want to connect with me, then you can always book a demo and request for me specifically so that I can consult with you on how we can actually help you build these automated financials. Or you can just reach out over LinkedIn. I'll also share the same in the links.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to be on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was super fun.
Awesome. It was a blast. I love having these conversations.
Yeah.
So Construction Champions, another episode. And I think a great question was brought up is like, why? Why are we not going out there and getting the information that we can get? Like, not just with financials, with anything. In today's world, we can understand any aspect of our business that we want to learn, that we figure out what exactly it is that we want. to hear from it. Like, this is the critical stuff. You have to understand what you want and then be demanding with it. Like, expect that. Think about champions. They understand what they want. They convey what they want, and then they demand it. They want that. They have to have it show up. They hold themselves to a higher standard. So maybe it is your standard for yourself isn't high enough, and you're afraid to hold somebody else to their standard. We run into that all the time. So maybe you need to go look in the mirror and have that conversation with yourself. So then you can demand the absolute best out of people, the absolute best out of the numbers. Understand the reports that you want and go get them. The information's out there. So Construction Champions, make sure you go check out all of our fantastic sponsors. And until next time, be the champion that you're meant to be.
Introducing BuilderComs, the future of construction management. Built by industry veterans, our platform simplifies your workflows and boosts efficiency. From field operations to leadership, we've covered it all to help you sleep better and enhance your projects. With BuilderComs, expect reduced errors, save time, and exceptional outcomes. Join the thousands of builders and contractors revolutionizing their processes and achieving greatness. Discover more about us at BuilderComs.com.